Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Kevin King, Steve Simonson, and Tim Jordan. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 26 years. So if you're a company that has software, a product, or a design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for learning about the patent process. And you can email my team at welcome@goldsteinpc.com to explore if it's a match to work together. You can also check out the book that I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have here today Justin Chen. Justin is co-founder of PickFu. So PickFu is an online focus group program that helps sellers to increase their revenue by providing actionable data to inform their products and listing decisions. So when you use PickFu, I almost messed it up there. When you use PickFu, sellers easily discover which product variants and color options consumers prefer, like which photos and images grab attention and which words and phrases enhance description copy. So in other words, it's a great way to split test things before you really have to get too deep into something. So really so awesome to have you here today. Welcome, Justin.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rich.
Cool. So I think the natural thing for us to talk about then is idea validation, or product validation. I mean, People have an idea, they have a notion of what they want to put out there, but your notion isn't always going to be correct. Your notion isn't always going to be what the product people are looking for, what color they want it to be, or like even the headline for your ad, or the image that you use for your ad. So so tell me about how you go about validating ideas with your service.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't think people realize how many decisions they're making about their product or their listing. And they're usually just using their own judgment, or maybe of their partners or their company. But really, you're not your typical customer, right? You're typically not the profile of the customer that you're selling to. So you should be getting feedback, and whether that's feedback talking to potential customers at a coffee shop or using a platform like PickFu, like you should be getting some data on it. And so like feedback can start really early. Like we see people doing idea validation where they don't even have like a product to look at or anything, and it's just, hey, like moms, like, do you have this problem? Would you buy this kind of solution? And just kind of like textually describe it. And what's great about our platform is that we give you written feedback. And so you can just gather open-ended feedback and just people riffing on like, whether that fits their needs, what they would do to improve it, just suggestions. And that's like the earliest that you could to get feedback. And once you start getting product designs or product concepts, maybe you're working with a designer, then you can start throwing it up and start getting people to respond, saying like, oh, I really like, the way this one looks, or I like this design better. And this is really helpful feedback as you're iterating really early on, so that you're not committing to a product design that's, ultimately going to fail. And, you spend $50,000 on inventory and whatnot.
Exactly. And I think that's the broader message, right? In terms of idea validation is you want to avoid as much as possible spending money in the wrong direction, on the wrong product, on the wrong promotion. And I mean, when you're launching anything, there's just like so many different decisions to make, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, starts with the company name or the branding and the colors, like all of that stuff, right? Like, does it resonate with your audience? And sure, you may like it, but the funny thing is that like the most common feedback we get is like, that's not the one I thought was going to win, right? Whether that's authors picking their book titles or their book covers, or sellers choosing, the products that they think they're going to sell. And it's almost never the one they think they're going to win. But then once they see the responses, they're like, oh, okay, like that makes sense now. And you never would have had that, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's probably the best feedback that you can get is that when someone says like, "Hey, I never thought that that was going to be it." Like, and you just
Yeah,
realize like, okay, we just saved you a whole bunch of trouble
exactly,
by helping you
exactly.
figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like people often say like, trust your instincts. Yeah, I don't know. I think most of our instincts are wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, you could trust your instinct to go into a certain area. Sure,
Right.
like, oh, I think fidget spinners are going to be hot, something like that, right?
Right.
Okay, fine. But then, as you're iterating on the design or what theme to make your fidget spinners, like you kind of need a pulse of the crowd, right? And you want to get feedback from that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then when you move to the next stage, it'd be great to get feedback on that.
Yeah.
So, so first of all, how did you get into this? Like, what brought you like into this realm of split testing? So, kind of like, what made you decide that like split testing would be a great business to have?
Yeah, so we definitely kind of fell into it. So my partner John and I are both engineers by trade, and we were actually working on a different business together. We were working on a restaurant review website that we kind of run on the side, and we were doing a redesign for that website, and we couldn't decide. So like we had literally two versions, and so what we did is we decided to build a solution because that's what engineers do. So we built PickFu out of our own need to get feedback on stuff. Part of the other reason is that like as entrepreneurs, like we tend to we try to ask our friends and family all the time for feedback, and which is fine in the beginning. But I think at a certain point they just kind of get sick of giving you feedback, and so like we weren't getting the responses that we were expecting. It's like, oh, no, it's just crickets now. Like no one's responding, or they're just like, whatever you think is best. And, these kinds of like things. And it's like, that's not really helpful. So we need to build a solution, and we built PickFu to solve our own need. And that's kind of how we fell into running a split testing service. And over the years, we've started tailoring it to different customer segments. And so, there was authors using it, book titles and book covers. We've got like mobile game companies testing UI and app icons and all these kinds of things. And now sellers are using it to test out their products and packaging and branding and their listing images. And so what we found is that it's generally just good for anything that you're going to, go live with or go publish that you can't test live and you can't take it back, right? You're putting some investment into it. So it's definitely like that good sanity check so that you have the confidence to make the right decision.
Right. Totally. So I mean, it sounds like your own experience had you realize that getting feedback was a valuable thing for entrepreneurs, that you should create something to collect that feedback. But
Yeah.
what made you decide to build a platform that you did and not something else?
Well, I guess like I mean, all the ways that we've kind of tweaked this to be our own version of surveys and feedback is kind of unique. And I think, we always wanted something that's quantitative and qualitative. So we've got the voting aspect, like you can do up to like 8 different options of like say color variations. And so you'll get a tally of which one won, but we also wanted like written feedback, right? And I think that serves a couple of purposes. One, it shows that they're genuinely responding to your question, and you can tell like who's earnestly answering. And we actually use that for quality control. We actually do a lot of machine learning and automatic analysis to make sure that people are earnestly answering the questions, and we're constantly like curating and blocking the respondents who are not doing things properly. But also like we wanted actionable feedback. So it's not enough to just say like, oh, I like this one. It's always why, right? You need to know why so that you know what I can improve for the next round, or maybe something lost, but that's okay because the reasons are resonate with the direction that you want to go in as a company. So, that's kind of how we led to this kind of format that we have. And we always wanted something simple. So like all of our polls are just single question. Like it's not a multi-step Survey Monkey or whatever. Like we just wanted to make the simplest possible experience for both the customers and the respondents.
Got it. And now in terms of kind of starting and growing the company, So like, I mean, tell me about the path toward just, like you guys just creating this and then growing it into the company that it is. Like, what's that path been like for you in terms of scaling the business?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been very organic. Like I said, we built it as a side project, and it kind of stayed as a side project for a number of years as we were still focused on our other business. But we definitely found that it started growing on its own, kind of around when like the lean startup movement was coming around, and people were doing like talking to customers, and just like data driven decision making became like a thing.
Right.
Data science, all this kind of stuff, right? Like
Right.
it was starting to happen.
Agile and all that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so that's when it started picking up. We're like, oh, we should spend a lot more time on this. So, we pivoted all of our attention over to PickFu, and we started marketing to entrepreneurs. We found that authors were taken to it, and we just started evolving the product and adding new poll types and demographic targeting, since that became a big thing. And we try to dog food the philosophy of talking to our customers, just like we advocate now. It's we talk to our customers all the time. We're always happy to hop on a call with any of our existing customers or potential customers, and the feedback that they give us is kind of the direction that we take the company. And so almost everything that we add is driven by customer feedback and suggestions.
Wow, that's so. So you're not only the founder, you're also a client.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So now, I guess let's talk about some interesting use cases that you've seen, like what ways in which people have used the platform and validated a notion or an idea that's kind of unusual or it stands out.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like a common way to validate is, when you're product sourcing and you're trying to decide on, like, say, like it's tea kettles or something, and you're just trying to pick different styles that you see on say like Alibaba or whatever. So that's a common thing. They're just testing out different sourcing options, or they are working with a designer testing out product concept designs, and then color variation is a big one, and I think it's not done enough. I mean, a lot of products have variations, and even if you've already decided on the design because like you've got your gut intuition, like you were talking about, like what inventory levels you stock for colors, like that's a huge deal. And we had one customer who came to us that we met at a conference, and he was like, oh, I had to choose between 3 or 4 colors. It came overwhelming for one color. I just stocked 100% then and just sold it out. And, you really can't complain about, results like that. So I would say like those are the common ways that people are using it to validate early on.
Yeah. And it's funny, I guess, with colors, it's like even automobile manufacturers get it wrong. They end up with, with a lot full of blue cars and they just thought it would be a more popular color. And it's like
and then
everybody wants the silver one,
Yeah.
And they didn't make that many of those. And then, they end up buying a different type of car.
Yeah. And then you're fire selling them and you're losing money. So like it's definitely worth the upfront cost to get some idea about what to stock.
Yeah, and it's really funny. It's like often it's not what you expect. Like you think like this is what people are going to love, and no, they like the purple one or something. And and getting that information at an early stage can save you a lot of money and keep you from having a warehouse full of yellow kitchen gadgets or whatever.
Yeah, I would say that the other interesting way that so in the beginning of the phase, a lot of people do competitive testing. And I think I heard on your previous episode with Brandon that, he was talking about checking out the competitors of a product that you're looking to go into. And that's also a common way that people test on our platform is they want to know why competitors are selling well, right? So what you could do is just grab all the images from the search term that you're looking for. Maybe it's like running shoes or something, and just run a PickFu poll. And what's great about it is you can ask them which one would you buy. You could take out like price and all that kind of stuff just to normalize the data, and they'll give you written feedback on what's more appealing about certain versions, right? And that'll help you decide on what to focus on when you're developing your product.
Right.
And so as you're developing that product, like the other interesting use case is if you're going to be developing branding or packaging that might be, I want to say, similar to a potential competitor, like you could do a likelihood of confusion test. And that's basically like asking consumers, like on our platform, would you be confused by this? And so like, I think there was a case example where it was Captain Morgan's rum, and then there was one called Admiral Nelson's, and even though the names are completely different, like the brand packaging of the bottles were almost exactly the same thematically. And so, you know, if you think you're kind of going into that realm of like, oh, we're going to be kind of similar, like that's an interesting test to run, and we've seen some lawyers run that on our platform as they're trying to, you know, defend a case for their client.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. And like surveys like that have been around, I mean, I don't know, decades and decades before I went to law school at least. You know, like that's how they would resolve some of these questions, is by doing surveys. But it was all manual, right? Like, you know, the classic example is like they used to do surveys to see if people thought of something as a trademark or not. So,
Interesting.
You know, it's like Scotch tape. Right? People say like Scotch tape, is that a trademark? And they would say, no, that's just what you call it. It's the generic name.
What it is.
Right. And that's how they would prove that it was still, that Scotch tape was still a thing, or Xerox. What people know that Xerox is a trademark and photocopy was the generic name for it. So they would make all that proof through surveys. And so it's very interesting though, like, and it also was, you know, very expensive thing. Of course, when these litigations took place, lots of money at stake. So, you know, no one would bat an eye at spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a research firm to do all these surveys and get the response from the relevant public. But yeah, the idea of doing it proactively before you launch a brand is fascinating to me. It's like asking people, would you be confused between this product and that product before you even go to the trouble of launching the brand?
Yeah, because I mean, I have seller friends that have had issues where they were working with a manufacturer in China who said, oh, we can make this for you. It's similar to a leading product that's out there. And, you know, if the manufacturer is saying that it's okay, you're probably like thinking, oh, that's fine, I'm going to invest all this money into it. But it would be a little bit of protection on your side to kind of test it, to make sure that, you know, just for peace of mind, and also for if they do come in, you know, bring some legal action to you have some data to kind of back yourself up.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of show good faith, like, hey, you know, like, we really didn't think this would be a problem. As a matter of fact, we went to lengths to try and explore whether it would be a problem or not. And yeah, I'm sure that would be helpful. And I mean, I guess but in my opinion, when I think of Captain Morgan and Admiral Nelson, if anything, it confuses me with Major Nelson from I Dream of Jeannie. You know? I'm dating myself a bit by even bringing that up. You know, when you said Admiral Nelson, I thought, oh, I Dream of Jeannie. But yeah, I think that's a pretty cool and innovative way to use the platform.
Yeah, very creative.
Yep. And so you know, kind of what other types of ideas do I guess people try to validate when like using a platform like this? Like, is there any other out of the box examples, like where people have done something beyond like just asking for a yes, no? They were looking for some specific feedback about something out of the ordinary.
Yeah. I think there's some interesting use cases around asking how you feel about something. And so as you start building your brand, say, you know, you're not just selling a product, but you're actually trying to build a brand that kind of means something. And we see this with some of our larger corporate customers. A lot of the tests that they run are just more open-ended, and, you know, can you watch this ad or look at this product and like what kind of emotions does it evoke, right?
Oh, wow.
Like it's not quantitative at all, but
yeah.
As you're thinking about brand, like that's the kind of stuff you want to, know about. And we're seeing more people do these kind of like brand audits on PickFu. So it's, how does this brand make you feel? How does this logo make you feel? How does this ad make you feel? And keep adjusting those creatives until like it hits like the thing that you're trying to evoke. So I think that's creative. I think once you start thinking about that, it is open-ended feedback. Like there's a lot of interesting questions that you can ask. I think even for naming things, right? You can, we've seen some people where they just put up their product and they don't really tell you what it is, right? Because you don't want to like incept it in there, right? It's describe this product in your own words. And that's really powerful because people describe things in completely different ways than you would think, right? Like you have an idea of like, oh, that's obviously, such and such, but the way that they describe it is how they're going to search for it. Right. And that's what's going to resonate in the marketing, in the search keywords, all of this
keyword research right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we even use it for SEO or for our own things. Sometimes they're like, hey, how would you describe this? And then, you get all these phrases and keywords, and then we grab that and pop it into like, different blog posts and landing pages and that kind of stuff. So from SEO or Amazon search rankings, like it's a really good way just to organically get feedback from people on how they describe things.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess that's where the qualitative and the quantitative come together, right? Yep. It's not just about like, is it A or is it B? But just getting people to share stuff that you might not have thought of. I mean, do you have anyone that actually says like, hey, here's the product, what would you call it? Like really fishing for like names.
Yeah, we have actually. Yeah. Especially when they're really not set on their name, it's kind of funny. It's like, or they'll say like, do you like this name? If not, like, what's a better name? Really indecisive, right? So It's pretty funny, like the things that people would ask.
Right. It's like they have a chance for like a write-in vote.
Exactly.
write in your candidate for.
You just tell me what's a better name.
Right. Yeah. Let's not beat around the bush here. Just tell me what you like better.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. That's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely love to talk with you again about some other things that come up and how people are using the platform.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you coming to and be on the show and to share about idea validation.
Sure.
And if people want to learn more about you, learn more about you or get in touch with you, how would they do so?
You could find me personally. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn. So Twitter's 2bit Justin, TWOBIT Justin. You can go to pickfu.com. That's PICKFU.com. pickfu.com/e-commerce as well for more specific information on how we help sellers. Awesome.
Again, thanks so much. Thanks so much for being here, Justin. Really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you at another event soon.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Rich. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.